Hi everyone! It's me, Mario! Just kidding, it's not really Mario. It's Donovan. I'm gonna show you how to make my super simple, no knead artisanal pizza crust that I stole from Jim Leahy, who's a very famous baker who owns the Sullivan Street Bakery. And he invented the no-knead baking method for bread and pizza so that more people could enjoy the goodness of bread at home. So we're going to start with measuring out our dry ingredients and mixing them all together. I have my flour here. I'm only using 2 cups and a tablespoon of flour. I'm gonna weigh it out because I have my scale right in front of me and it's super easy for me to do that. So 250 grams of flour, and you have this recipe at your home, so you can just go ahead and do what's most convenient for you. I'm almost there. That's 250. And then next I'm gonna add my sugar, which is a ½ teaspoon of sugar. What the sugar does is it's gonna make everything rise up much more easily. Oh, I don't know where the yeast is. Jonathan, do you know where the yeast is? This recipe only have 1/8 of a teaspoon of active dry yeast, which is really not that much. It's gonna rise outside of the refrigerator. It's a really cold day in New York right now, so I don't know, maybe I will leave it out the whole entire 24 hours and see how that does, because if you're in a cooler climate or if you're in a hotter climate, there might be some differences. But I think from looking at all the people that have done this recipe, they say generally you just leave it out and it's very simple. So 1¼ teaspoon of salt is in there, okay? And next I get my yeast. It's only 1/8 of a teaspoon of yeast, and you may not think that sounds like a lot, but then again, it's only 2 cups of flour. It's not a very big recipe, and it's gonna go through a really long fermentation at room temperature. So have a little faith in it. I've made this recipe once before for my restaurant. And we used to refrigerate it because we couldn't use all the dough all at once. So I don't know, let's see how this works completely at room temperature. I actually don't have 1/8 of a teaspoon measure, so I'm just gonna use half of this. So I'm just gonna eyeball like half of this. And then next step is you're gonna add the water. And this recipe requires quite a bit of water, so I'm gonna work it so you can see the texture of the finished product. But for the recipe, you're gonna need 3/4 of a cup and 1 tablespoon of water, and that's gonna be lukewarm water. So you don't want to add cold water because that's gonna prevent your yeast from getting that head start that it really needs. Now again, I'm gonna use my scale to do this because a lot of recipes are created based on, for bread specifically, percentage of hydration is important, so it's calculated by weight of water to flour. My scale is acting up a little bit. So for me, I'm going to weigh out 185 grams of water, and that's gonna make my dough quite wet, but I'm not concerned because it is supposed to be a very well hydrated dough, and what that does is it's gonna make your pizza really light and really crispy and not doughy and dense, because you know you enjoy the flavor of the dough, but you don't want it to be like super gooey and not delicious. So that's it. I'm gonna start mixing this up with a spoon before I go in with my hands, and you can see how liquidy that really is. It's quite wet. I'm gonna keep on mixing this until it becomes a dough. Okay, looks like it's coming together. I'm gonna just get all the flour right up in there. So I'm gonna leave this out overnight. I suggest that you do the same, unless if where you're at is really hot. And what I mean by really hot, if it's more than say 70 degrees in your kitchen. So if it is hotter than 70 degrees in your kitchen, I would just recommend leaving it out for 2 hours and then putting it in your refrigerator. If it's less than 70 degrees, if it's 60 degrees, it's 60 degrees in New York right now. So I'm gonna leave mine just outside and see how it does. If I feel like it's not proofing as much tomorrow, I'll put it into the oven without the gas turned on. So here's my dough. You can see it's very wet. It's very sticky. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold it a few times before I put it away. That will give it a little bit of extra gluten development. What I'm doing is I'm picking up the corner and just kind of folding it on top of each other, like you're folding a book or something. So you can see this tiny ball of flour. It's gonna make 2 pizzas, 2 medium-sized pizzas. Jonathan is doing a much bigger pizza dough recipe. So tomorrow we're gonna make like 4 pizzas, and just in case if we mess them up, you know, like just in case if some gets messed up. So at this point, I'm basically done here. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna wrap it up with plastic wrap and leave it alone and wait until tomorrow. And I can't wait to see all of you and make pizza with you together. It's gonna be so much fun. Get your kids involved, and we'll have some fun tomorrow.